Hello everyone, my name is Pixlriffs and welcome back to the Minecraft Survival Guide. Oh, cinematic camera. Did not realize I had that enabled. That's a little bit weird. Anyway, welcome back guys. Hope you're having a great day. Today we are starting off in the slowly but surely coming together automated storage area that we set up in the last episode. I've done a little bit more work on here, as you can see. We've got a little bit of a facade coming together for this. A facade, and it's coming together pretty well so far, although I didn't want to just duplicate this design on the opposite side here because I think the structure of this building is actually going to be a little bit larger than we initially thought, or at least than I initially thought. I don't know if you guys had an idea about how big this place was going to be, but look, we have ourselves all of the automated storage we set up in the last episode. Down here at the end, we have the automated storage for precious items, automatically sorting iron into these chests here, gold into these chests here, diamonds into here, and then emeralds in this one. And I'm going to have shulker boxes for each of those because those are the ones that I might need to take with me to trade with villagers and so forth. The diamonds one is always going to be super handy as well in case we need to make some more gear, that kind of thing. And all of this is set up with the snowballs that I mentioned could be used as filter material in the previous episodes. So we've got snowballs in each one of these renamed to filter material just in case I happen to scoop up any snow around here that gets put into the system. I was going to do the same with eggs, but then I thought if a chicken gets here, it's all just going to go terribly. So I figured we may as well do that. So that's how that's going. Over here, we have another little cell just for the different wood types, although I haven't actually set up the automation for this yet. This is all still just manually sorted. You can put stuff in this chest and a hopper will filter it down into the chest below, but that's mainly just so I can shove a bunch of stuff in any of these chests and it will all end up in the right place. The thing about this is that I really need to get some more iron. I don't have a huge amount right now. That looks like a large amount because it's several stacks and change, but I'm going to be doing some stuff in today's episode that requires pistons. We might need to make some more of those. And ultimately, I think it's going to be better if we wait until we've got an iron farm, or at least I go do a decent amount of mining before we continue to automate any of the storage. Now, these little chests over here, I was trying to work on the symmetry of this room, and we might put another set of chests here, but it depends where the feed lines go of hoppers. It depends if we're just going to dump everything in this input chest over here and have it go around the length of the entire room, or if it's going to do what this one currently does and stops and puts everything in a kind of overflow chest here for all of the stuff that doesn't automatically get sorted. Right now, none of this extra stuff around the outside is connected because, again, hoppers are expensive. But this side, I decided that I would put a few basic materials, the kind of stuff that we're going to be using in this area for building, stuff like terracotta, which I went back to the mesa and I got a whole bunch of, but the plain terracotta is going to go in here and then I can take it out as I need it and dye it. The same goes for sand, where we can use that to make concrete powder or to smelt it into glass if we need glass for a build around here, which we're probably going to. We will need to put windows here and there. And also white wool, because white wool, much like terracotta, can be dyed any color. It's a little bit expensive to do it that way, but I will be using a lot of white wool again for the more medieval builds around here, so I feel like it's probably a good shout to put that on the ground floor. This is my philosophy when it comes to building storage rooms like this, to try and make the resources that are most commonly used, at least as far as these projects go, as accessible as possible. So you want to have the wood and stone right next to the door. You don't want to put that like upstairs in like some tucked away corner of this place, because then you're going to be traveling way more. You're going to be going upstairs to get the most basic resources that you need to put together. Tools and pickaxes and that kind of stuff, and stone for building, that kind of thing. All needs to be quite close to the front so you can just dash in, grab what you want, dash out again, no problem. I think upstairs we're going to have some storage for some of the materials that either I'm not using in great supply around here, or for stuff like, I don't know, flowers and dyes and things like that. There's going to be a whole lot of them up here, and I think we're going to need a large upper floor for that. And that's all going to be manually sorted. I'm not going to bother automating all of that because it would take forever. It would be quite expensive. And I also kind of want to save stuff like that for further into the series when we've got a little bit more established in terms of materials being produced automatically, having an automatic iron farm and stuff like that, so that it doesn't feel quite as expensive and like I'm spending all my resources on this one build right at the start of the series. We've got to save something for later, right, guys? We've got to do something fun like that. So in the meantime, I've also expanded the pumpkin farm upwards, got the melon farm working here, and I've started converting some of these melon slices into regular melons. And sooner or later, I'll build a facade for this whole thing as well. But yeah, it needs a little bit of work. But today, we're going to be working on something a little bit different. It's going to be out here in the far flung area of this little district, and I'm actually going to put it right next to the quarry because the purpose of today's build is going to be kind of similar. What we're going to build today is something you guys might have heard of if you've been following anybody who's done a Skyblock series or anything like that before. We're going to be taking a look at cobblestone generators. Now, considering that cobblestone is something you can dig out of the ground on a vanilla world, it's nice and easy to get hold of pretty much anywhere you go. You might think it's kind of unnecessary to build a cobblestone generator, and for the most part you would be correct, but there are some applications in which it's absolutely essential. Think, for example, of a Skyblock series where you start out on an island in the sky with nothing but a bunch of dirt and a single piece of bedrock and a chest with some basic materials in it, and from there you have to build a landscape. You have to build platforms on which you can do anything at all, and those are going to most likely be built out of cobblestone because it's a renewable resource. It's something you can get an infinite amount of if you know how. Cobblestone generators are also great if you don't want to damage the natural landscape, which, as you can tell, I have no problem with. Good lord, there's a lot of gravel here. Yeah, it's good if you don't want to dig up all of the stone in your surrounding environment, if you haven't got to the point where you've got a beacon mine or anything like that. If you're mining using a haste 2 beacon, you'll probably have more cobblestone than you know what to do with. But you could just need a whole lot of cobblestone for whatever giant castle build you've got planned or something like that. So it's actually going to be quite worthwhile learning how to generate cobblestone, you know, from thin air, as it were, as opposed to digging up large areas of the land and then finding that you have to go further and further afield to not damage the environment that you're trying to build in. And last but not least, it's actually kind of fun to do. I think the fun thing about cobblestone generators is that they're effectively Minecraft's equivalent of a science experiment. There we go, a little bit of XP back on the shovel, and I need a lava bucket. So the main ingredients of a cobblestone generator are a bucket of water and a bucket of lava. If you've got those two things, you can make a cobblestone generator pretty much anywhere. And what we're going to do is build one over here, right next door to the quarry, which could potentially be an item of lore here. Either the person who has started the quarry over here has thought, hey, how about we kind of, you know, modernize and turn things a little bit more automatic and generate cobblestone instead of digging it out of the ground, or maybe it's a rival business of sorts. I mean, right now it's just a hole in the ground, but we'll come up with the lore for it a little bit later. I brought this little kind of kit with us. We're going to use a little bit of this stuff in the making of our cobblestone generator, but like I said, at its most basic, the cobblestone generator is just a bucket of water and a bucket of lava. Now pay attention, because where you place these buckets of water and lava is actually going to, you know, affect things a little bit. Let me give you a quick example here. So say, for example, that you have a bucket of water and a bucket of lava. You put them down basically anywhere. Water will extend for 8 blocks in various directions, making this kind of diamond shape, and lava will extend for 4 blocks in each direction, and that's why I brought these blocks of andesite with me, because I don't want to just jump up on this lava like so. But anytime flowing water and flowing lava meet, they have the opportunity to make some cobblestone, and here, of course, I put that in entirely the wrong place. Let's try there. How about that? There we go. It's making cobblestone. Anytime lava and water touch like that, anytime they flow into each other like this, they're going to make cobblestone. And what we've just done is generate our first 3 blocks of cobblestone out of thin air. No other materials required, and that is completely renewable, because anytime you put water and lava together, they're going to generate cobblestone, but the water and lava are not affected by that. They're not going to disappear as a result. They're not going to run out at any point. The problem comes when you try and have water and lava interact too close to each other, because as we know, placing down a lava source anywhere, like so, and then pouring a bucket of water over the top of it will create obsidian. And the problem with any kind of cobblestone generator setup is that you want to make sure the water never touches the lava source. Otherwise, that will turn into obsidian, and you'll end up without being able to make any more cobblestone. You'll end up with no lava source left to generate infinite cobblestone. So the basic design for a cobblestone generator usually just involves digging a hole in the ground. You want to dig a 4-block long trench, like so, and you want to dig out a hole in one of those blocks, one of the 2 central blocks, and that on the right-hand side here is where we're going to be placing our water buckets, so that the water, instead of flowing across onto this block, flows down into this hole, because we're going to place the lava bucket at the opposite end, and it's going to create cobblestone here, like so. Now imagine if that water was flowing across this block here. Imagine if that block was filled in, the water would flow this way and it would come into contact with the lava and turn it into obsidian. And that is how a lot of people's cobblestone generators tend to fail, is the water flows straight across, interacts with the lava, turns it into obsidian, you lose your lava, you lose your cobblestone. However, now, anytime we remove this cobblestone block, occasionally it's going to get eaten by the lava, but more often than not, it will pop out towards the player, like so, and then you can mine cobblestone as much as you want. Now, the problem right now, of course, is that it's getting eaten up by the lava occasionally, and so this isn't a completely lossless design, but you will end up with more cobblestone than you started with, and as long as you're a little bit careful not to walk into the lava yourself, this is a foolproof way of generating infinite amounts of cobblestone. No matter where you are, no matter what world you're in, you should be able to do that if you just have water, lava, and places to place them. Now, what we're going to do today is a little bit more sophisticated, and one of the things I want to do is build a note block. Now, do I still have I think the redstone was over there, but we're going to need a little bit more redstone anyway, so let's quickly run back to the house where I still keep all of my redstone supplies, and we're going to build a note block. And this might seem a little bit counterintuitive to the idea of generating cobblestone, but believe me, making music is going to be a big part of this. So in order to make a note block, we just need to make a chest shape, put a redstone dust in the middle, and it turns into one of these things. And the texture of note blocks is actually quite an attractive one for my money. I quite like this texture, and I've used it in some medieval builds that I've done before, but today we're going to use it as a mechanical component, because note blocks have some really interesting redstone functionality. To go into a little bit about what note blocks do, if you place them down on any kind of material, they will make different sounds. For example, if I place it on stone like this and punch it with the left mouse button, you're getting a bass drum kind of sound, and with right click you can actually tune it up and you can see the color of the note changes, like so. This isn't actually what we're going to use it for today, but it's quite fun to experiment with. For example, if you place a note block on some wooden planks, it gives a kind of bass guitar sound, and that again can be tuned upwards, like so. So anyway, that's nothing to do with what we're going to do with note blocks for today, but it's a fun demonstration for the time being. And what does this have to do with cobblestone generators, you ask? Well, it's actually part of a circuit that we're going to use a piston to push the cobblestone out of the spot where it gets generated so that we don't end up losing any of it in the lava. And I'm going to remove some of this stone here, fill that back in, because we're actually going to build this above the surface. Effectively, what we want to do is create the same setup, but one block up, so that we can have water flowing in from this direction, lava flowing in from this direction, and have the cobblestone generated here. And because it's above ground, the pistons will be able to push it, because a piston can only push a maximum of 13 blocks before it has to stop. We're actually going to build this in one corner of this area, because the idea is to have the pistons kind of fill up this entire area with cobblestone that we can easily just mine out. So we're going to set up our little lava area here. We're going to set up the water on the other side. We need to have 4 blocks space here. We're going to dig a hole here for the water to go into, like so, and we're actually going to dig this water hole down one more block, because we want it to flow down into that little area there and not flow into this block. So we're going to dig a hole there as well. And the reasons for this will become clear in a moment. Right, I'm going to create a redstone torch like so and place the redstone torch in this hole. And we're going to pour the bucket of lava in as normal. Now that's going to create a piece of cobblestone above that redstone torch. And you'll notice now that the water is flowing into a 2-block deep hole, it doesn't redirect and break this redstone torch like it normally would if you placed a water source next to redstone torch. Like the flowing water would usually sweep it up, but because the water is already flowing down into that hole, it's not going to go anywhere. Next, we're going to place a piston here, facing towards us, facing into this cobblestone block, ready to push it out into this large area we've dug out already. On top of this cobblestone piece here, we're going to place our note block, and that's what's going to be detected by the observer. Now, when the piece of cobblestone is generated here, it's going to create a circuit with this redstone torch, powering that, which then powers the note block, and that's what's going to be detected by our observer up here. The observer is going to output a redstone signal onto this block using a piece of redstone dust. That's going to power the piston. The piston is going to fire once, pushing this cobblestone out into the main area over here, and then it will continue to make more cobblestone, like so. And that is an automatic cobblestone generator that you don't have to worry about losing any cobblestone to the lava. Now, I quite like the fact that it continually produces a bass drum noise, but if you want it to stop doing that, just put a block on top of the note block there by shift clicking, and you'll still be able to have it perform the same functionality, but any note blocks with a block over the top of them will not produce any sound. Now, it looks like it's getting dark, and I don't want this lava source to be blown up by a creeper, so bear with me while I run to a bed. Good morning! So do you remember when I mentioned that pistons can only push a maximum of 13 blocks? This piston has now reached that limit over here, and that means that it's no longer able to generate any cobblestone here because this cobblestone block here is at the limit of what it could push. Now, if I break that again, it's going to start working again and keep pushing the cobblestone out here until it reaches 13 blocks again. It's going to no longer be able to push, and then we're going to have to break this cobblestone again to get it working. So while this is a great little conveyor belt kind of line, and we could actually stand at the end of this and just hold down the left click button to mine as much cobblestone as we wanted, that's not necessarily an ideal setup to leave this thing running in the background while we go and do other things. So I'm going to leave this thing powered with a lever while we work on something a little bit different over here. We're going to use some more pistons and some more observers to push all of this cobblestone into a nice big square that we can harvest whenever we want. To do this, we're going to count out 11 blocks from the point where the cobblestone is pushed out here. So we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. And over here, we're going to place an observer facing this way so it's detecting when a cobblestone block is pushed in front of it. Now we're going to do something quite similar to what we did with the melon and pumpkin farm, where we place a block behind the observer and a piston next to it with some redstone dust, like so. And now whenever the cobblestone is pushed in front of this observer, this piston is going to do the same thing this one over here has done and push it out into another line. It should be doing that any second now. Yes, there we go. So now this piston is freeing up this one to keep pushing the cobblestone for as long as it wants. This is called a feed tape, and it's used in things like tree farms or cobblestone farms. Whenever you want to farm something that creates a long line of resources that you can very easily farm. Of course, once this piston here reaches the limit of 13 blocks, it's also going to give up and is going to stop pushing anything else. So what we want to do is create a similar row of pistons along here that are going to push all of this stuff back in this direction and create essentially a large square of cobblestone. Now, one thing we need to bear in mind is the fact that the cobblestone generator is going to be pushed out of shape by this, and we don't want this block here to be pushed over to one side and break the water source, which would mean no more cobblestone got generated over here. The water source is not a huge issue, but it is something that we need to keep in mind. We can grab some more water from over here if we mess that up at any point. But this block here is not strictly necessary anymore because amazingly, that water is now flowing down into that hole and will continue to flow down into that hole. It doesn't need to reset itself and flow in any other directions. So we can actually create our cobblestone our additional rows of cobblestone behind here. They can go all the way up to here if they want to, and it's not going to affect the water source in any way. So we're going to place our first set of pistons here, like so. And because piston direction can be a little bit finicky, I am just going to break some of that cobblestone to put it in place. Right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think that should be the maximum this one can push because it's got 3 blocks space there and then 10 pistons in a row like so. That should be all right. Now if we place an observer detecting this block, and then we need to place a row of, let's use the polished andesite again, just because we're building this in a sort of deliberate fashion. If we place some polished andesite along the back here, and then run a line of redstone dust from the output of the observer all the way along these blocks. Anytime this observer detects a block update, it's going to fire all of these pistons in a row. So anytime this cobblestone gets pushed in front of it, it's going to form another line of cobblestone like so. So let's remove all of the cobblestone from this line so that the pistons will all fire again, remove this cobblestone, and we can set our generator into action. I'm actually going to pillar up here and time-lapse this section because it's going to take a little while for the cobblestone generator to generate all that much. But what we should end up with here is actually 10 rows of 13 cobblestone. So that's 130 cobblestone maximum. That will make about 2 stacks. So that's actually pretty good as far as output goes. So that really didn't take very long at all. That took maybe 2.5 minutes, maybe 3. Now, I have had a quick look on the Minecraft wiki, and it is possible that note blocks will catch fire from lava. So there is a bit of a problem using a note block here, but the same effect could be achieved using a redstone lamp, which won't catch fire from lava, or alternatively, if you turn fire spread off in your worlds, which I will probably end up doing in this world because I do want to do some fun stuff with lava later that doesn't involve things catching fire, then yeah, you can use this system pretty easily. And the one downside to using a redstone lamp, the reason I'm not using a redstone lamp for this to begin with, is the fact that the redstone lamp turning on and turning off will fire the observer twice. So you don't want the piston to just be constantly kind of shuttling back and forth. It can get a little bit noisy. In fact, it is possible for us to cover up the lava and surround this note block on all sides, which I think will mean that it can't catch fire, because there isn't actually a face of the block available for it to be set on fire before the fire actually burns it out. So I could be wrong about that. I haven't really looked that much into fire physics in Minecraft because I spend most of my time playing on servers or worlds with the fire spread turned off, but that is one thing to note about that. Anyway, I brought back the daytime, and we can now harvest all this lovely cobblestone that we've generated from nothing. Or well, from 1 bucket of water and 1 bucket of lava, but that bucket of water and that bucket of lava have meant that we've generated 2 stacks of cobblestone without having to go mining for it, which is kind of fun. And it's the kind of thing that becomes incredibly useful when it comes to skyblock worlds and project worlds like this, where you just want something a little bit different. Now, one last thing we could do before we wrap up this episode is create a system that prevents this from jamming, prevents you from having to go in and manually remove that bit of cobblestone to restart the cobblestone generator once you've got all of this stuff up and running. And to do that, we're going to grab another observer and a sticky piston, because note blocks can be moved by pistons. And so by pulling this note block out of the circuit here, you actually shut off the cobblestone generator for the time being. It's not going to keep pushing using this piston. So what we're going to do is figure out the last piece where this cobblestone would slot into place, which is going to be here, and we're going to place an observer facing downwards into that block like so that when this block here detects that a cobblestone has slid into place down here, it's going to send a redstone pulse to this sticky piston, and the sticky piston is going to be in charge of removing the note block from the circuit and preventing it from generating and trying to push any more cobblestone through this system. And from the looks of it, this redstone circuit should be able to complete pretty well. So let's run some redstone dust along the top of this andesite here. That should be enough to power that piece of polished andesite for a single in-game tick, which is going to be enough to have the sticky piston push this note block down, but not retract it again like sticky pistons normally do. Let's give this a try. There we go, it's deactivated just in time, and the fact that we have a 1 block remaining over here means that once we completely take out all of this cobblestone from this section over here, and if we remove this block last, it's going to reset the system one more time, and the note block will drop into there, enabling this to continue working. So that's actually a way we can not have to trigger the note block manually over here, and we can not have to unjam the cobblestone generator every time. I think that went pretty well. I think this has all come together very nicely, and this is just an example of one of the things you can do with a cobblestone generator. There are a lot more applications and a lot more sophisticated ways of making a system like this. You could even have it push up into the air, push this entire layer of cobblestone upwards so that you can create a thicker block of cobblestone. You could be generating an entire 13 by 13 cube of cobblestone if you do it the smart way. But that's going to do it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much for watching the Minecraft Survival Guide. I hope you learned something today. I hope you enjoyed this look at cobblestone generators. Please leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Bye for now.